us all free.
What's up, everyone? Riven here. I hope you're having a great day. We're going to be talking about World of Warcraft Shadowlands today. We're going to be getting into, I don't want to get into the major nitty gritty of things. I'm trying to give the highlights of Shadowlands, my thoughts on the expansion so far, and where we are with World of Warcraft in general. My thoughts on that. So let's jump right into this. We're looking over here at the zones for Shadowlands. There's 5 new zones: Bastion, Ardenwald, Maldraxxus, Revendurth, and of course the Maw. I like the 5 new zones. I like the direction they're going with the story. From Legion to Battle for Azeroth, they didn't really have an intrigue in Battle for Azeroth for the story. It was a weird take on the story for me. It didn't really do anything much for me. But here we are now with Sylvanas, who seems to be crazy, but I think there's definitely more than meets the eye there, where she's making calculated decisions, calculated reasons of doing things, working with the jailer to make all this death and to bring about something that we haven't, something bigger than what we've seen. And for some reason, I think the jailer wanted her to go to the Icecrown Citadel, break the helmet of domination and go from there, and now bring kind of like almost merge the worlds and bring the Shadowlands, the evil part of Shadowlands, and just wreak havoc inside of Azeroth. And now it's our job to get in there and stop them. And how we do that, and how we're going to be able to fight the jailer, and hopefully this expansion, I don't know if we're going to kill Sylvanas or severely injure her. Or at least defeat the jailer. Something weird's going to happen where we're going to put a stop to things, and either we're going to kill the jailer or kill Sylvanas, and maybe as where she's dying, she's going to realize that she has become everything she has hated. So that's my thoughts on the story. The zones look amazing. I love the different artwork in all of them. Like this one looks like heaven. Like their goal is to bring throughout all the souls that come to Shadowlands is to carry them to the Shadowlands. To bring them about. This is more of enchantment, and this one's more like the Emerald Dream, but reverse side of it, where you have rest and rebirth. And then you have the new zone, Maldraxxus, which you feel like it's like necromantic power, magic, and they're looking for just like just all that power, looking just to gain unstoppable power, not necessary evil, but always just looking to be powerful and always gaining more power to be better. I don't know. The Revendurth looks great. These gothic villages kind of look like vampiric, which is very cool. This is where people can go who have done their wrong deeds or misdeeds, and they have to indulge the appetites of their keepers to kind of keep their souls and be alive. And hopefully one day they can find their way to salvation and get out of this covenant and move on to a different one. But this one looks pretty where you're gonna hell, I guess I want to say. And then you have the Maw, the bleak eternity. This is where it's a hopeless land. You're in prison forever. You cannot leave this place. It's done. This is where the jailer has your soul for eternity. There's no way of getting out. Which is actually pretty interesting. That the jailer, I guess he's like the one of the rulers of the Shadowlands, but his job is to keep you entrapped forever and I guess torture your soul for eternity. But normally people can escape this, but for some reason our heroes of Azeroth can, which is pretty neat. And I'm looking to see how we're able to escape the Maw and the tower and the endless dungeon, the Trothgoth. We're able to leave it. So it's pretty neat. Then we have a new player hub, Orbus, the Undying City. I can't wait to see pictures of this and see how nice it looks. Then Torghast is a tower of the damned, which we were just talking about, which is over in the Maw, which is, if you play Final Fantasy 14, shout out to them because it's a great MMO, and they really have taken a lot of things, and I love that fact that WoW is inspired by it. Blizzard's inspired by this because and they're taking it and making it their own thing. Whereas in Final Fantasy 14, it's an endless dungeon. There are like hundreds and hundreds of levels you keep climbing up, but Once you restart the dungeon, it starts the same way. There's really no RNG to it or changing or anything like that. It's static. You start at level 1. Level 1's level 1, and nothing. The enemies don't change. The walls, the experience doesn't change. The only thing that might change as you're going through the Palace of the Dead or Heavens on High is what they're called, depending on what expansion you're playing in Final Fantasy. You have the only thing that changed would be the affix, I guess, in the dungeons that you might be affected by. So you won't regenerate heal. You won't be able to regenerate health. You can't use abilities. Certain things like that would be randomized between each dungeon, and the placements of traps as well. Other than that, they're kind of taking this, and it's going to be an ever-changing dungeon where every time you run the dungeon, it's completely different. It will be different zones, different enemies, different placement of mob, probably different affixes. Sounds like if you die, I guess almost like a Souls-like game. I'm gonna assume if you die, you lose whatever you've been collecting. So if you die, that's it. Stinks. You lost whatever you're collecting to come out of the dungeon, because it sounds like you have to bring a certain amount of things you're able to do. It sounds like after you do a certain amount of things in the dungeon, collect all that experience, you can get certain rewards that might affect your class in a whole different way. You might get an ability that will make Flame Shock last forever, which is pretty awesome. But if you're running through it and you die, and you have these things that you're collecting, or all this rewards that you're collecting, and you die, you lose it, and that's a pretty big hit. So if you play Dark Soul type games, yeah, that's pretty tough. I don't know how many levels are going to be in this. It sounds like it's just endless, and you can just keep going until it gets harder and harder and harder. I'm going to assume there's going to be a boss at every certain amount of levels. And Final Fantasy is every 10 floors, you fight a boss. You get past that boss, you unlock the next set of levels, and repeat the whole thing again. There's not much of reward from the Final Fantasy side of things. You might get titles. You don't really. I think you get some things to do cosmetics and whatnot. You get tons of experience points. So if you're looking to level up alt, that's one of the better ways to do it in that game. So I'm not sure what they could be doing this here. It sounds like they're giving you a little more for spending your time. And I feel that, content, if you're going to be wasting your time in content, the rewards to always justify the amount of time you put in. And this sounds like they're going to give you a good amount of rewards for the amount of time you're going to put into it, especially if you can go in with 4 friends on top of it, which is great. So if you want to solo it and, get those kick-ass videos to put up on YouTube to show, hey, I soloed all the way up, I sold level 200 by myself as a disc priest. That would be awesome to watch and see people do. So I'm looking forward to see what content creators put out and what actually Blizzard's going to do more of this as we get more news behind it. And this is one of the things I'm really interested in, and I hope it's something they bring into more expansions as we go forward with the game. So they streamlined leveling. I'm excited for leveling because there's one thing I didn't like in World of Warcraft that I could not stand was leveling. They kind of took levelings and smoothed it out for everyone. So we have halved leveling and half the crazy over the top 100, 110, 120. Thank you, Blizzard, for knocking that down. It's probably easier for them to scale out things now and bring things back to like an easier way of scaling. 120 and those numbers is getting ridiculous. I was critting for over 2 million. So I can imagine that math after a while just going to be getting crazy. So bringing it back down to a more scalable level is probably a little bit easier, and they can streamline things a little bit more. And they've also adjusted the curve for it to make things faster to help new players along the way. So if you're starting brand new, there's a whole new level for players. We can pick your era, which I'm excited about this. I don't want to be overexcited, but I'm actually excited about this. This is pretty cool. If I want to play Wrath of the Lich King and level up 10 to 50, I can. It'll take me all the way from 10 to level 50, and then I can jump into Shadowlands. I think that's a great aspect of the game of leveling. So like I never play Cataclysm. I didn't also play Pandaria, so I'd probably take a Horde character and level through them because I would love to check it out from a Horde perspective because I've been playing Alliance for way too long. I started off as Horde, but then friends jumped over to Alliance, so now here I am as an Alliance pleb because for the Horde. I was always a horde person. I was a Tauren druid. Oh, I miss my Tauren druid. Anyway, then level 50 to 60, you enter the Shadowlands, and you stand show the Legend of the Past, which I think is pretty neat. In certain different covenants, you're gonna meet different legendary characters. You're gonna meet like Uther, part of the Krenari covenant. Korean covenant. You're gonna meet them. Uther's gonna be here. These are all different zones. So, and Orbis is in the center of it all. So it looks really, really good. I'm very excited for all this. I'm really, really looking forward for it all. I'm not what I wasn't. So I want to jump into something that's a big gripe for me. What I'm really happy about is the leveling. That was a big gripe for me. What I'm happy what they're doing. I don't know if I took a screenshot of it to talk about it. Yes, I did. So yes, here we go. This right here, we're gonna jump into RNG because in Legion and then Battle for Azeroth, guys, it killed me. Legion and Battle for Azeroth. Near the end of Legion, I felt like the RNG was ridiculous. It was all over the place. I was rolling on rolls to get rolls, to get gear. I'm like, wait, what am I playing Division 2? Like, what am I playing? I don't understand this right now. Like, I don't understand because this is an MMORPG. And an MMORPG for me equals gear loss. Sulfuron's hammer, the Wind Fury sword. Those are very rare weapons, but they built that lust behind gear, which is lacking, became lacking in World of Warcraft. It was something that I really enjoyed, and it was something that I wasn't a top raider or anything like that, so I never would have had it. But it was just one of the things that just made you lust over gear and made you want to go get it. And, I had a very casual guild. So, we raided the way we could. But it was always in the back of my mind of like, I really, really want that gear. And now come Legion, and it was just roll dice, roll dice, roll dice. And then hopefully you get a Titan Forge piece of gear, which now it's okay. I'm just hoping for a Titan Forge instead of hoping for that one piece of gear that drops that all you need to build out a badass piece of armor or weapon. So that was one of the things. And in BFA, I just took it and just really went nuts with it. But systems and rewards in Shadowlands, I'm really liking this. They're really focusing back on class identity as opposed to spec identity. I never liked spec identity. I don't want to be just a marksmanship hunter. I should be a hunter. And that hunter should be, okay, I have all these abilities. I'm going to specialize a little bit, focus more on bows and crits, or maybe focus more on melee, or focus really on my pets. But always keep that identity of who I really am, which is a hunter, and never just take away the full identity of a class. And that's something that should never happen. And I feel like this happened like once or twice with World of Warcraft, where I'm like, I just don't want to be a type of hunter. I want to be a hunter focused on, and the small subset of me focused on this. I'm liking the Shadowlands legendaries. You can create your legendaries, go out, probably farm those pieces of items, which would be great. And that's like the RNG I like. Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna farm this boss, and hopefully get a piece of items. Hopefully get a piece of the item I need to build my legendary, or a gem I need, or whatever the case might be to build that legendary. No longer legendary is gonna be RNG based, where that was drove me nuts. Because if you required a specific legendary and you didn't have it, you were kind of benched. Which kind of, in my opinion, ruined the Legion experience for certain players, especially at the high-end progression level. So, which is cool. I'm glad that they are bringing him back, but in a different way. The weekly loot chest, I'm glad that they give you options to choose. And it won't just be full RNG. Stating they give you 5 to 6 different options where you can actually go ahead and choose the legendary items that you want. I think this is a great change because I would go run 3, 4, 5, different, run high-end Mythic Plus dungeons, and then I come to my chest the following week, and the item I got did not justify the time, or did not justify the reward I put in for the amount of time I put in for the game. It just made no sense. The Titan Forging, and then if sometimes I got the same gear I've had before, just Titan Forge, and I was like, it's okay, it's the same gear now, just Titan Forge, which is great, and it's maybe a 5% upgrade. So it wasn't anything that was really neat. I'm liking the fact that now they are saying, here's 5 or 6 items. Go ahead and pick the one you want. If you don't like it, re-roll it, or not re-roll, or pick something else. Pick a different reward that you feel is worthy of the time you put in. I'm glad that they're giving you that. I'm glad they're making profession updates. I like the fact that you're gonna be able to take a gem from jewel crafting, throw it into your pants, and get crit and haste gear, which I think was a great change, which is something that they needed to do because professions right now are so broken. I miss crafting. I absolutely enjoy crafting. World of Warcraft back in Classic was one of the only crafting games, MMOs I really got into, and I love being a leather worker on my druid and then a blacksmither on my I think my warrior, I think at the time, which is a lot of fun. But I feel like throughout the whole progression of World of Warcraft, they kind of destroyed progression and really professions really destroyed what they were and why they're supposed to have them. They almost made this kind of like this small mini game where I feel they should not be a mini game. They should be an integral part of the system. Where in certain MMOs you can actually craft entry level raid gear to get you into the raid. So you have so many different options to choose. Instead of just like farming dungeons all day, I rather just go out and farm some minerals and run some dungeons to get specific parts I need to build this gear, or go out and buy it in the auction house. So I can build these or just buy these pieces of gear that will let me jump into the raid. So having many different ways of doing it, which is what I like, and it's a great means of economy for the game as well. If you actually have a crafter who can build great gear for people who maybe don't have the full time to go run 8 dungeons in a week, who can just pop on and have the means to just pop in the auction house and slowly buy the gear one little bit at a time, which I think is a great option to do. Or they can craft it a little bit at a time. And it's entry level raid gear. It's enough to get you into normal. I'm not saying it's enough to get you into heroic or mythic. You would have to run normal and gear up to get you into heroic and mythic. And the gear that you get from crafting, in my opinion, would be just enough to meet that threshold to get you into the normal raids. So you can be viable. You can bring support to your groups you're with. But the raid gear in there would be an upgrade to the craft gear. Or in some games, the gear that you craft is on par with the normal raid gear. And then you would need that to you could get that into, you start going to rogue and things like that. So depending on how they do it and what they do what they do with it would be very interesting. But I'm hoping that they actually take professions and make them viable, where they are an alternative where people can choose to craft gear, sell it, possibly get us into normal raids as an entry level. Great, or even like mythic plus 2 or 3 entry level crafted gear, because it should just not be a mini game. Profession should be something that's really a part of you. It should be something. If I'm choosing to be a leather worker, I want to be a leather worker. I want to be able to make gear that people are going to be able to use and make use of and get into the starting raids or mythic pluses or PvP for that matter. There should just be other alternatives for endgame gear. There are some MMOs way back in the day that you could play and you could craft the best gear, and the best gear was all customized. You didn't really farm. You didn't farm the dungeons for the gear. You would farm the dungeons for the items that dropped to craft your gear based on what you wanted, but it ended up becoming the best gear in the game, which was very cool. And I hope they do something like that here, where professions really become something more than just this basic little mini game to kill the time while you're waiting for queues to pop, or just bored of running around and killing stuff. So I'm hoping to look to do things like that. We got 8 new dungeons. The dungeons look cool. 4 level up dungeons, 8 max level dungeons. 4 level up dungeons, 4 max level dungeons, which are great. I like that they have enough dungeons to kind of keep you busy throughout the start of the game, which is very, very cool. I'm looking forward to the dungeons. I'm a dungeon crawler. I enjoy running dungeons. Dungeons are freaking awesome. So I'm glad there's 8 of them that we can just excel at. I like the fact that right off the bat you have regular, heroic, and mythic, and then you all your mythic pluses. I'm interested to see what they can do with Mythic Plus and how the RNG is going to work with Mythic Plus. I think Mythic Plus RNG gear makes complete sense because that's +2, +3, +4, +5, +6. I just don't want to see Titan Forge. I think Titan Forge would be thrown out completely. I think it's a not a good way of having a good way of things today. It's just, I don't know. I think it's to be trashed. I don't like that. I don't like that RNG. I know I'm babbling here. I like the tower. So I'm gonna talk about the tower. I think we talked about the tower in Animal already, which will give you abilities. Some of the abilities are cool. Like this is some of the examples that they gave. Albarian Strikes, Unquenchable Flame, Seeker of Living Flame, which are actually pretty cool. Increases critical damage and healing at 10%. Flame Shock lasts forever. That's amazing. Fire Elemental lasts indefinitely, but you cannot cast Frost spells. So that's great. You have a living pet for the rest of your whole journey, depending on how you actually want to do things. It's just you cannot cast anything that would be required of you, like for casting. You can't cast Elemental Blast, Ice Fury, and Water Walking. So it really makes you want to think about how you really want to play your class, and it's that extra customization to it, which I think is a really big thing in World of Warcraft. Is that once you hit max level, there needs to be a way to customize your character and stand out from the rest. So if this tower that they're talking about, the Endless Dungeon, allows us to, the Torghast, Tower of the Damned, allows us to choose different abilities and possibly replace them as we're going. So if you get these powers and then you no longer like this, hopefully there's a way you can actually unchoose it and put in a new one. It should be interchangeable, where if they're really trying to make it like build-based games, because the talents are very interchangeable when you're in a rested area, the same thing should be of this. You should run a talent, you should run a power, a new thing rolls. You've changed your build based on different factors and stats and whatnot. This should also be changeable as well, so we can then go around and say, you know what, this no longer fits my build because I'm wearing this skill, I'm wearing this gear, and based on the stat changes from that, Frost Shock is going to do more damage than having out my Living Flame. So which would be pretty cool. Or my Fire Elemental having that out, which would be pretty cool. So hopefully this becomes something that you can run the tower, unlock abilities, and then somewhere in the interface you've collected those and you can swap them out. You can swap them out on the fly inside a rested area, because if this becomes something that's permanent and you cannot swap them out, I think it could actually be detrimental. And this is something that should be allowed to be changeable. I find this as like this should be like an extra, not talent, but an extra customizable way of making your build. And the way that World of Warcraft is like now, it's very the way I see it is very shooter looter built. The gear, it's like Diablo builds, where you're just constantly swapping out gear, swapping out gems, swapping out this to meet and always make your build better and better to get the most amount of damage out. It's really not that much of a cookie cutter build. It's really testing and testing, because what works for one person may not work for another. And yes, I know all those stats are out there on Radar.io, and where you can upload all your website and whatnot and show you different things, but testing it and doing it for yourself is going to be showing you is how I feel it works. I know numbers don't lie, but sometimes playing around with yourself and figuring out what works best for you is the best way to play the game. Unless you're doing absolute hardcore progression, then I can understand where a cookie cutter build will come into play. But if you're just moseying around, playing normal, doing this, that, the other thing, then find what works best for you and playing around. But if you're in a hardcore guild, I can understand the numbers don't lie. But I believe this should be something that you can allow to change yourself. You can change and on the fly, because I think that'll be awesome. You're running the tower for a reason. Give me these rewards. Let me change those rewards, or let it be where if it's no longer gonna be, I I can't have this one anymore. Let it destroyed. Let it become destroyed and replaced with the other one. So you have to think about what I'm actually gonna do. How is this building gonna help me? Because if I do this, if I take this one, if I have this Seeker of the Living Flame, but now I want Unquenchable Flame and put it in there, I destroy the Seeker of the Living Flame. So giving me an option really make me think about how things are gonna work and how things are gonna play out. So other than that, guys, my thought in Shadowlands right now, I think it's heading in a great direction. I think Blizzard has been listening to our complaints, and they're really pushing forward with a lot of different changes that I'm really excited to see. I hope that they keep in that direction. I hope they keep adding good changes to the game. Remove a lot of the. I really want them to remove a lot of the RNG. And bring back some of that gear lust that should be out there. Shadowlands itself looks really, really good. I like the direction of the lore that's going, and I'm really just happy to see that after Battle for Azeroth, there's been a huge change in direction for this game, and they're removing a lot of the crap that this does not fit, does not make, especially artifact power grind. I'm so glad that needed to go. That was just ridiculous. But I'm hoping the power of the anima is something that will be like ultimate advancement, and you go run the tower to do it, and you always get rewards from it. And I think that will be something that'll keep me very busy for a very long time, because I do like things like that, and I love doing Palace of the Dead in the Final Fantasy 14. So if that is something like this, you can see me spending a lot of time in there. So other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you coming in, listening to me babble, talking about World of Warcraft, my opinion on everything so far, where we're going. I'm cautiously excited about the expansion, but I'll definitely be keeping my eye on it as we get more news and push it out there. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you could leave a comment, like, or subscribe to let me know if you enjoyed, and I'll bring out more content to you guys. I appreciate you stopping in and checking this video out. You all have an awesome day. Peace out, everyone.